Well, with more, we're now joined by Christine Normandin, the Bloc Québécois MP for the riding of Saint-Jean. Madame Normandin, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about C319 here, because what you're proposing would increase the old age security payment, but it would be given under what you're proposing to everyone age 65 and older. And the clawbacks only really apply to individuals making over $142,000 a year. So I'm wondering, are you asking the government to give money to individuals who don't actually need the top-up?
Well, actually, we're asking the government to put an end to discrimination between different age groups. Basically, what we're asking is that the raise that was given to people aged 75 and plus be the same given that will be given to 65 to 74. And in the end, if you receive more, but you already make a lot of money, it comes back in taxes when you fill your tax report. So it's a measure that we want to see applied to all elderly, 75 and plus, and without a discrimination between age. So it's not really, it's something that's already been done for those age 75 and plus. We just want to put an end to the discrimination between both age classes, as when you're poor, there's no discrimination with regards to age, and you need that support as well. So that's the way we see it.
Are you worried, though, that using more money for OAS would take it away from other programs that need greater priority, though?
Well, actually, there's plenty of places where we could get the money from, and we've been asked, well, how much will it cost? And it has been analyzed by the public budget officer. The cost would be $16 billion over 5 years, so basically around $3 billion a year. And when you think about it, just since 2022, in tax credits, fiscal gifts, what was given to the oil industry is $83 billion. So we could just use a bit of that money and take it out of the pocket of big oil and put it in the pocket of the elderly and those who need it the most. So it's all about a question of choices. And we think that's one of the choices the government could make and that we would support for sure. And also intrusions in fields of jurisdiction of Quebec and provinces, most of the time could cost more because you double the bureaucracy. So if the government didn't make the choice to intrude in those jurisdictions, there could be money saved there as well. There's plenty of places where the money could be, we could target not cuts, but reallocation, and use that for a raise in OAS. I
hear what you're saying, but for example, when it comes to the money given to oil companies, the government will make the argument that the money is actually being used not so much as a free-for-all for oil companies, but a way of encouraging a transition to a cleaner way and diversifying what they do. So it's actually an environmental program. So I hear what you're saying, but there are options that can be used here. But in terms of prioritizing the needs of seniors who may not necessarily need the money, are you taking it away from other sectors that actually need it more? For example, young people who are more concerned about housing.
Well, that's not a place where we'd like to see cuts. But if we come back to what you mentioned about oil and clean transition, we are all about clean and green transition. But what we've seen so far is that that money is used in order to make so-called green oil a thing that we believe can't exist, and gives a leverage to companies then to produce more oil instead of slowly getting out of oil production. So if it's used that way, it might be a little bit greener, but with the big picture, it is not, as more oil is produced in the end. So that it's really a question of choices. And when the minister was talking about efficient subsidies, that's also a thing that we don't believe really exists. If we want to make a real green transition, there's plenty of startups in Quebec who could have better ideas how to use the money than big oil companies.
Now, last week, your leader said that he believes the government is thinking seriously about supporting the bill to increase OAS or to expand OAS. Have you heard anything more since your leader had his news conference last week?
Not on my part, so I don't know how the discussions are going, but in the end, I think it's a very fair proposal that we're making to the government, and I do believe that the channels of discussion are open, and we don't tend to have open strategies and open discussions in public. We have put on the table what our priorities are, but when it comes to negotiation, we still give us a bit of room for more discreet conversations.
Fair enough. But, I do wonder if the government doesn't support the bill, what message do you think the government will be sending to the Bloc and also its aspirations to keep Parliament going?
Well, I think it doesn't send a good message to both the Bloc and the elderly. That's why I do hope that the conversations will be fruitful, because it's a lot of people that you just push back, and we mentioned that this week. If you don't want to give the 65 to 74 a raise in OAS, go tell it to their face instead of saying, well, we've already put money into dental care and it affects them. No, just don't tell them we don't want to raise OAS and see how they react, and you might eventually pay the political price that goes with it. So I think the recommendation that we made is fair. It was voted also in the House on second reading. Bill C-319 was agreed by a majority of parties in the House. So it's something that looks like it makes common sense to people. So I think it is just fair that they go along and have a good hearing about our proposition.
Christine Normandin, I really appreciate the time this evening. Thank you for that.
A pleasure.